Okay, this is gonna be a late night video. Sorry about that. And there's a reason why we have the deepest conversations late at night. And we remember those days where we stayed up all night talking to a friend, to a lover, and we open up. And maybe next day we are like, oh my god, why did I say that? Since I was young, I used to notice that I felt different at night. I felt like my personality changed, and I really can't explain it now because it's been so long since I noticed that. But probably I used to think maybe the moon. There's actually the word lunatic comes from Luna, which means moon in Spanish and probably Italian. And the reason is because they thought the moon used to affect people's personality. But well, unless you're not super smart, nobody believes that anymore. But still, there's some truth about what happens at night. And there's these famous studies. I don't remember who made them, but they were about self control. And there's this hypothesis or a theory. I don't remember the exact science, but you can look it up. I'm not lying. About self control, it's kind of a muscle, and it requires energy and it gets tired. And so they made this study with some people that would come to a supposed meeting and they would offer beets or cookies. But before that, to a group, they would make them do math exercises, hard math exercises, so they would get tired. So these people would eat more of the cookies. Now it seems like it's maybe that wasn't the reason. Maybe it was just when we get stressed, glucocorticoids go up, and when we eat some carbohydrates, they go down. But still, they used to explain that, like, if you're on a diet, when you're hungry and your sugar levels are low, it's more likely that you're gonna eat it. So you need some fruit, but it's less likely that you're gonna eat fruit or whatever. So something like that. But probably the reason it is that we get tired and not sleeping. It's kind of like getting drunk. You uninhibit yourself. I once was, let's call it like a summer camp for adults, and me and my roommate made a contest. We said who can last the longer without sleeping, and we didn't last that long. Probably not even 48 hours, but I did made it to like maybe 35 or 40 hours. And I remember I started hallucinating, and it was like I discovered that not sleeping was kind of like getting drunk. So that's probably the reason when you don't sleep. Well, probably there's this thing that's called adenosine. So when you drink coffee, it it blocks adenosine receptors. So your brain thinks that you slept. So you that's why coffee works. Uh, but anyway, I thought that was interesting. So in a way, when you don't sleep, when it's late at night and you're tired, you uninhibit yourself and you're able to open up and talk about those things that you suppress, that you don't feel, that you don't dare to talk, or at least be so open about. So I think it's a good thing. There's actually this theory or hypothesis that if you think about it, most of our story as humans, we didn't have electric life. We didn't even have candles, probably. Maybe we have some fireplaces and stuff like that. But when it gets dark, it gets dark. You gotta go to bed because you're not gonna be able to see. You're not gonna be able to read. I mean, if you're rich, probably you can waste a candle reading, but probably they were like really valuable for most of the people. So you have to go to bed. And they say, like, now I'm remembering that Jordan Peterson said this, but I didn't take that from him. I took it from a sleeping, the science of sleep course that I took. And yeah, they said like you would go to bed and then you would wake up like maybe 4 hours and it was like, I don't know, 12 a.m. And so you would like talk and just open up to whoever was sharing your bed or your room, probably, because I don't think they had many rooms at that time. So that would be like a nice way to create stories, and that's why so many stories revolve around dreams about sleeping and things like that. So yeah, this is my video. I uploaded a different video today, which showed me that it really is about, well, first of all, click through rate, thumbnail, but you gotta deliver. And in this channel I cannot do my thumbnails because I'm not verified. So that's why I have to pick from the options YouTube gives me, which are not the best. It's just me most of the time. Maybe I can do this for the thumbnail. So anyway, I mean, it started really fast, but people quit it. I don't blame them. As I have said, this is my test. This is something that I find entertaining. You could call it my hobby, because I put together everything I like. I like psychology, I like evolution, I like making videos, putting it out there, and in a way it's like I'm talking to someone. It's been long enough that I can really feel like at this moment, it's weird, but I feel like I'm talking to you, like I'm talking to someone. It doesn't feel weird to me to be delivering this to the camera, which I'm just making myself aware of that. I'm just talking to a camera, but in my mind, I'm talking to you. I'm saying this to you as if I was sharing. And look, this video wasn't about that. Probably nobody's gonna make it through here. But if you do, this is gonna be good. Probably I should make another video about that because this is really interesting. There's a reason why praying, journaling, it's healthy, and it is healthy. There's studies about the nuns who lived longer if they wrote on their journal about what they were feeling, stuff like that. And then there's the, how you call that, grateful journal, whatever, writing about things you're thankful. But there's actually this super famous, or at least super eminent, evolutionary biologist, Robert Trivers, talks about the reason why. Because look, to me everything has to make sense evolutionarily, and I'm a psychologist and a psychotherapist, but I still need to find an evolutionary logic. If it doesn't, I kind of don't buy it. There's this podcast that I love that it's called Psychotherapy Podcast, something like that, Psychiatry. And there was this episode where he was talking to someone else, and they were talking about we have this need to process our emotions and whatever. And I was like, no way. There's no way we evolve with the need to process our emotions. There's no way. Maybe I'm wrong, but it's just an example that the way I tend to look at things. So whenever I think about like mindfulness or whatever, I need to understand why. And there's this great book of Stoicism where it explains how we can piggyback in our language capabilities to hack ourselves to live better. But I'm losing track of what I was saying. I was talking about making these videos, journaling, praying. The reason is that our brain thinks that we are sharing with a friend or a loved one, which makes us, yes, you guessed it, suppress our sympathetic system, which is our fight or flight. What means it lowers our stress levels, which lets our autoimmune system be like stronger. So it helps. And look, I do this for some reasons. Practice my English. And now, because I love psychology, and maybe it helps me with my health. And do I dare to think that maybe I can help someone, and maybe that someday I can earn some money from this? Anyway, it went longer than I thought, so I guess I'm getting sleepy. Hopefully it's useful. It was to me.